Things go wrong all the time, and we need to have a game plan for when things do, especially as managers and as leaders. We need to know what we need to do when things go wrong and how we're going to handle it and how we're going to move forward, not only for ourselves, but also how we're actually going to move forward with this with our team. Hey, welcome to Lead With Less. I'm Tash, Pieterse, your host, certified people leadership coach, and this is the podcast that helps you become a leader people actually want to follow. So if you're new to management, about to step up into your role for the first time, or maybe you're a little bit seasoned already, this podcast is absolutely going to help you to become a leader people actually want to follow. Now, why am I doing this episode? Well, because things have been going wrong. And if you have been on the internet in the last month, you will have seen some serious things going on from a leadership perspective. The biggest one is the Coldplay concert Kiss Cam event. Now, I'm not going to jump into judging or shaming because look, they don't need any more of that. But the essence of the story is a CEO and head of HR were caught on a kiss cam at a Coldplay concert having an affair. They were identified as the CEO of a company and the head of HR, and they are not married to each other. And it essentially spiraled into this huge, viral, absolutely big social media sensation, which is not what you want to be known for. I mean, we don't want to be caught out doing unethical, wrong things, whether that's personal, professional, not the vibe that we're going for as leaders. And so it did cause a lot of controversy, discussion. There's a lot of things that people were really starting to question. And there were kind of two sides of this where, some people were like, this is his personal life. It doesn't matter. It has no bearing on him as CEO and as a leader. And then there's the other side of the camp where it's like, this makes you question a lot. This makes you question the integrity, the ethics, the morals of how someone shows up. Because if someone is willing to do that in their personal life, really go against and be unethical in like the most sacred vows, really, what would they be willing to do at work? And then what escalated this was the fact that the person that he was having an affair with is the head of HR at his company. And that really makes you question two positions of power, one position who is the decision maker across everything in the company, and another person being the decision maker of everything related to people in the company. So things went very seriously wrong. Now, this isn't the level to which things go wrong in everyday situations. Well, I really hope not for you. But we need to know what to do when things go wrong. And I'm not going to be talking about this at the level of a huge social media scandal that brings a whole company into disrepute and is a reflection of the whole company. But I am going to talk about everyday things when things go wrong, or even slightly bigger things like a bit more of misconduct, performance issues, things like that. What do we do when those things go wrong? Because we need to know what to do. And so I'm just going to share 5 things that I recommend every manager does when things go wrong. And the level to which you do this will depend on the level to which the problem is presenting itself and the level to which you need to resolve or work through this. But we're just going to talk about this kind of everyday things going wrong, because if we can't handle the small things that go wrong, are we actually equipped to deal with the big things that go wrong? So this is something that we want to have in the back of our minds of how are we handling these things and do I know what to do? So firstly, when something starts to go wrong or something seems like it is wrong, or maybe it's not getting the outcome that you want, the first thing is to really figure out what the actual problem is. Like, what is the real problem that we're dealing with here? Sometimes we can say things are going wrong and things are a problem when actually they're not, because we're not spending the time to really identify what the real problem is. So the first thing we always need to do is figure out what the real problem is, like what really went wrong and what needs to be worked through. Because if we can't even identify that, how are we going to actually resolve this? How are we going to fix this problem or make sure it doesn't happen again? So we want to make sure that we figure out what the real problem is. And you might be able to do this on your own, or if this is a problem that impacts someone else or involves someone else, work with them to identify what the real problem is. You don't have to be doing this by yourself, right? And this actually brings me to point number 2. Connect with someone to help you figure this out. whether it's the person that's involved, whether it's a peer, another manager at your level, maybe it's a mentor or a coach. Work with someone to talk through this with and understand what is going on and what the real problem is and what kind of solutions are you looking for. Because you don't have to be doing this by yourself. And sometimes when you do try and do it by yourself, you can actually make problems worse because you're not widening your perspective. You're not bringing other people in to try and understand different points of view. So bringing someone else in can be really helpful to make sure that you're solving the right problems and that you're coming up with the best solutions. Number 3, what you need to do when things start going wrong is come back to what is the ideal or what is the expectation of what's meant to be happening. Usually something is going wrong because it's not meeting a particular expectation, it's not getting a particular result, or a behavior is not in alignment with what needs to be happening or the behavior that needs to be displayed or being used. And so we need to actually come back to what is the ideal, what is the expectation here? What is it that we're meant to be seeing? What is it that's meant to be happening? Because if we don't actually have that clear, how can we determine that this actually is a problem? How can we determine whether something is actually going wrong? So we need to actually understand, well, what is the ideal? What are the expectations that are meant to be happening here? Some things that you could connect back to is what are the performance expectations? What are the role expectations? What are the values of the company? What's the code of conduct? Really tapping into what is the line that we're holding people to of where we're expecting them to perform, where we're expecting them to be. So come back to that. If you don't have clarity on that, the biggest piece of work will need to be setting those expectations, setting those ideals. Because if you don't have those in place, how can we determine whether something is wrong? How can we determine whether someone is not living up to what we're expecting of them, living up to what it is that we need them to be doing? So come back to what those ideals are, come back to what those expectations are, because those are your baselines. That's what we're determining whether something is going wrong or not, and where we actually need this thing to be. If you don't have them, make sure you do some work on putting these in place, because this makes everything so much harder. If you've been listening to my podcast for a while, you will know that I always talk about feedback is so much simpler to give when we have clear expectations to reference them from. And if we don't have clear expectations, it makes those conversations really difficult and really tricky. And so this is why it's really important. We need to have this baseline. I'm interrupting this episode to let you know that VIP Leaders, my leadership development program, is currently open for enrollment. VIP Leaders is my signature program that helps you strengthen your leadership identity, build trusted influence, and level up your emotional intelligence to become a leader people actually want to follow. The next round is starting very soon in September 2025. So if you are interested in leveling up your leadership skills, giving you everything that you need to be a leader people actually want to follow, head down into the show notes and click VIP Leaders to find out more. And if you've got questions, reach out and let me know. All right, let's head back to the episode. Number 4, start course correcting and fixing. Now that you know what the problem really is, you've involved the people that are necessary to involve, you know what the ideal expectation is, the ideal baseline, the ideal behavior that you want. Now it's time to course correct and fix. What are the steps that you need to take in order to fix this issue? What is it that you need to see improve, that you need to see be done differently, that you need to stop or start in order for this expectation to be met? This is what is really important. If you don't course correct, if you don't set the expectations of what it looks like moving forward, what is the point of all of this? What is the point of trying to fix something that's going wrong? If we don't explicitly course correct, if we don't explicitly state what it is we're expecting to see, what the results are that we're expecting to have, all of this is pointless. And we don't want that, right? We want people to perform. We want high-performing teams. We want people to be doing a great job. And so we need to be explicit in what we now expect to see. This is a great time to reset expectations. If you didn't have the expectations clear enough the first time, this is your best opportunity to get those expectations really clear now. But this is so important, because if we don't clearly articulate this, we're not going to be course correcting anything, and we're not going to get people to where we really need them to be. And then number 5, communicate and make sure that everyone is on the same page. Often, so much of things that have gone wrong is because of unclear expectations and unclear communication. Those are often the two biggest reasons things go wrong. I mean, sure, there are also other things that we absolutely can't control, whether someone chooses to just be an a-hole or whether someone chooses just to completely ignore the rules, like the kiss cam situation. We can't control that, right? We can't control the motives, the intent of people. And that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to control people to the nth degree. What we are trying to do is we're setting criterias and parameters of what we expect to see in terms of behavior. And it's up to those people whether they're going to step in and live up to those behaviors or whether they're not going to. And that's really up to them. But in order for them to rise up to that, we need to have that clarity up front. In order for them to go, yep, I'm going to behave this way, or I'm going to meet these expectations, or I'm going to perform at this level, they need to know what those things are. And that's up to you. It's your responsibility to state those clear expectations. It's your responsibility to make sure that people know what's expected of them, that they're getting feedback given to them in order to know how to perform and to what level. And that's why communicating and getting everybody on the same page is so important. Because if communication is not clear and it's not regular and it's not consistent, you're going to have things that go wrong all the time. And this is what's going to ultimately make your job as a manager so much harder. Because if clarity, expectations, feedback, if those things are not clear up front, it's going to make everything so much harder. So those are the 5 things that I recommend when things go wrong. What to do when things go wrong. The other thing that I haven't actually said here as well is if you are the one in the wrong, if you have made a mistake, if you have done something that maybe you're not meant to be doing, something that's maybe put you in a position that doesn't make you look good, be honest about it. Be honest about it. Be upfront and own it. Take accountability. Do that as early as possible, because the sooner you acknowledge it, the sooner that you hold yourself to account, the sooner that you take that step, the easier it is going to be to create solutions, the easier it is going to be to try and course correct this and fix it moving forward. But if we're not owning up to these things, if we're not taking these steps, then we're going to find ourselves in situations where we end up maybe lying a little bit, we start embellishing, we start covering things up, and then we're going down a track where values and ethics become a really, really gray area. And that is not where we want to be. We need to make sure that we are honest, that we are in integrity, and that we are acting and leading in a way that people can trust and respect. And that is also one of the biggest cruxes for me with the Coldplay incident, because even though having an affair is personal and it's a personal decision, it makes me question every decision that you make. So it makes me question your integrity and your ethics in every way, because we know the famous Brené Brown line, who you are is how you lead. If this is who you are and what you're doing, it makes me question how you're leading and what you're doing in that space. And so if you are finding yourself not showing up in a way that you really want to be, or maybe you have found yourself doing things that maybe you're not super proud of because things have been a bit more difficult, there's other things going on, really encourage you to talk to someone, get advice, get it support so that you can take accountability and you can take the steps that you need to in order to come back to being in integrity, that you can come back to being in a position where you are creating trust and respect, not only with other people, but also with yourself. So as much as this is about what to do when things go wrong externally to you, this is also something really good to think about what to do when things go wrong internally. So that is the short and sharp episode I have for you this week. I really wanted to do this because I think it's a really important conversation to have, and sometimes it can be uncomfortable, but we all make mistakes. Things go wrong all the time, whether we've been involved in it or whether it's our team, and we need to know what to do, and we need to have some kind of framework to figure out what steps to take. This is also something that we talk a lot about in my VIP Leaders program, helping you to deal with and face really tricky situations as a manager, because it will happen and there'll be so many things that come up. So you would have heard the ad in the middle of this episode. We are currently enrolling for the last group for this year. So if you want to develop your leadership skills, build trusted influence, learn how to and build your emotional intelligence, then this program is going to be for you. These skills are not only going to help you in your day-to-day work as a manager, they are going to make you so much more impactful and effective in your everyday life, because leadership skills are applicable in every relationship dynamic in every area of your life. So if you want to know more, head down into the show notes and get the information. And if you want to ask any questions, feel free to email me or book a free clarity call, no obligation chat, to see whether this program is a good fit for you. All right, have a great rest of your week. I hope that you've taken something good away from this episode. As always, if you have any questions or any topics that you want me to cover, please let me know. And if you haven't yet left a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple, please do so. It really helps to build the podcast. All right, have a great rest of your week. Hey, that's all from me today. Thank you so much for listening to Lead With Less. It means the world to me if you could take a moment to leave a rating and a review on Apple, or just rate with 5 stars on Spotify. It means a lot to the growth and the expansion of the podcast. And if you know any other people leaders who could do with a dose of inspiration to level up their leadership skills, then please forward on this podcast to them. I would really appreciate it. And as always, if you have any feedback or have any thoughts, please message me on LinkedIn, Instagram, or email. I'd love to hear from you.